When it comes to creating an unforgettable experience during intimacy, the power of anticipation is often underestimated. Starting before you start means understanding that the real seduction happens well before any physical contact begins. It's about priming the mind, stirring up desire, and setting the stage so that by the time you actually begin, his body is already on fire with expectation. This doesn't just heighten the pleasure, it completely reframes the experience. You're not just engaging in a physical act, you're drawing him into a mental and emotional game he doesn't want to stop playing. Think about how desire builds. It doesn't come from a place of immediacy. It grows in the space between wanting something and actually having it. When you let that space expand just a little longer, when you create those charged silences, the brush of a hand, a quick whisper in his ear, you're not withholding, you're deepening the impact. You're allowing every nerve in his body to wake up and pay attention. His skin becomes more sensitive, his thoughts start racing, and suddenly, every small gesture feels 10 times more intense. That's the psychological power of anticipation. It doesn't just delay pleasure, it amplifies it. So what does this actually look like in real life? It might begin with something as subtle as how you look at him. The right glance held just a second longer than expected can say volumes. It can say, "I want you," without a word. It can say, "You're not ready for what's coming next." That kind of energy creates a shift in dynamic. Suddenly, he's not just present, he's engaged. He's wondering what's on your mind. He's drawn in, invested, already experiencing a heightened state of arousal before you've even touched him. That is a game changer. From there, physical closeness becomes part of the tease. Sit a little too close. Let your hand graze his leg casually. Walk past him slowly so he smells your perfume. Say something completely innocent in a way that feels suggestive. You're not diving into anything explicit yet. You're building a current of energy between you, a tension that grows and stretches. That tension is magnetic. It makes everything feel charged. And it sets the stage for what comes next to feel earned, not just expected. What's crucial here is not to rush. Too many people skip this phase because they think they're saving time or that their partner just wants to get to the point. But desire isn't about efficiency, it's about depth. And when you move slowly, when you lean into the space between intention and action, you create a kind of emotional suspense. You become unpredictable. And in intimacy, unpredictability is electric. It makes every moment feel like a surprise, and every surprise feels like a gift. Even your voice plays a role in this. The tone you use when you say his name, the softness or firmness in your delivery, the breathy pauses between words, these are all tools of anticipation. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it. You can whisper the most innocent phrase, and if the timing and tone are right, it will send shivers down his spine. That's how deep the influence of pre-tet energy can go. So, starting before you start is about owning the lead up. It's about realizing that the moment before the moment is often where the real connection happens. That's where arousal begins, not in your hands or your mouth, but in the mind. And when you understand how to create that build-up, everything you do afterward lands with 10 times more intensity, because by the time you even begin, he's already halfway gone. This isn't about bravado or putting on an act. Real confidence in intimate moments isn't loud, showy, or over the top. It's subtle, grounded, and deeply magnetic. And when a woman brings that kind of presence to a sexual experience, it changes everything for a man. Confidence is communicated not just through what you do, but how you do it. It's in the way you take initiative without hesitation, how you hold eye contact without flinching, how you move like you belong in the moment. It's the unspoken energy of someone who's not seeking permission, not trying to impress, and definitely not second-guessing herself. That kind of energy hits differently. It tells a man, I'm here because I want to be, and more importantly, I want you. The truth is, most men are more turned on by your desire than your technique. He's not lying there critiquing your performance like it's a checklist. He's feeling the way you touch him, look at him, react to him. And if you're in your head, overthinking, wondering if you're doing it right, he feels that too. That energy becomes hesitation. It becomes disconnection. It breaks the flow. But when you're present, truly present, you tap into something more powerful than technique. You tap into chemistry. Presence and confidence are linked. When you're confident, you're not trying to rush through the moment or skip to the good part. You are the good part. You're not performing, you're expressing. You're showing up fully with all your senses tuned in. That alone is one of the sexiest things you can offer. It makes a man relax. It makes him surrender because it shows him that you are enjoying him, not doing something for him, but with him. Eye contact is one of the most direct ways to convey this kind of confidence. Looking at him while you're teasing or pleasuring him sends an incredibly intimate message. It says, I'm not afraid of this moment. I want every part of it. It breaks the illusion that this is some separate act, something you're doing in the dark, disconnected. Eye contact says, we're in this together, and that's something men crave more than they often admit. It builds intimacy and vulnerability in a way that physicality alone cannot achieve. Another subtle but powerful indicator of confidence is taking your time. There's a real strength in slowness, when you don't rush, when you savor the moment, when you own the pace. That sends a message that you are in control, not nervously trying to get it over with or trying to rush to impress. That relaxed control is intoxicating. It puts him in a space of trust and arousal because he feels like he's in the hands of someone who knows her power and isn't afraid to use it. And then there's your own pleasure. If you're enjoying yourself, if you're turned on, if you're making sounds, breathing deeper, moving in rhythm with him, it's a feedback loop. Your pleasure heightens his. Many women underestimate how deeply men respond to being desired. When he sees you relishing the moment, it validates his masculinity, his attractiveness, and your connection. It makes him feel like the center of your attention, and for most men, that's emotionally overwhelming in the best way. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, being expressive, and being unapologetically into it. That's what makes a moment unforgettable, not what you do, but the energy you bring to doing it. That's what makes him remember you long after the moment has passed. This is where most people narrow their focus too much, treating the experience as a task for one part of the body instead of a fully immersive, sensual moment. But the truth is, when you engage your entire presence, not just your mouth, you create an experience that's layered, unexpected, and far more powerful than anything mechanical. Most people make the mistake of isolating their attention to one area, as if the only thing that matters is the physical act itself. But intimacy thrives in depth, not in repetition. When you limit yourself to a single point of contact, you miss the opportunity to turn the moment into something that feels alive. That's where the rest of you comes in. Your hands, your breath, your voice, your body movement, even your energy can elevate a moment from basic to breathtaking. Start with your hands. They're not just accessories to the moment, they're an extension of your desire. While your mouth might be focused on one area, your hands are free to explore the rest of his body. Use them to stroke, to anchor yourself on his thighs, to softly trace up his chest or down his sides. Change pressure and rhythm to create a contrast. When your mouth is gentle, your hands can be firmer. When your mouth is intense, your hands can slow it all down. This contrast keeps him stimulated in multiple zones, amplifying sensation and keeping his whole body involved. Then there's your breath, an often overlooked but incredibly erotic tool. Breath is warmth, it's energy, it's anticipation in physical form. Let him feel it between moments. Hover over him, pause for a second, and just exhale slowly across his skin. That breath, that pause, it sends shivers through him. It teases without touching. It builds arousal through restraint, not action. Your voice matters too, not in the form of dirty talk necessarily, though that can be powerful, but in the sounds you make, the subtle moans, gasps, or sighs that show you're immersed. Your sounds guide his experience. They prove that you're not just there, you're feeling it. And when he hears your pleasure, even in small vocal expressions, he feels deeply desired, deeply wanted. It creates an emotional feedback loop where his arousal feeds yours and yours feeds his in return. Your eyes are just as vital. A glance up, especially during vulnerable moments, is electric. It's connective, it's bold. There's a difference between doing something with your head down and doing it with your eyes open, looking at him, letting him see that you're present, that you're there with him. It's one of the most intimate things you can do, and it pierces right through physicality into emotional territory. Even the way you move your body plays a role. The rhythm of your hips, the sway of your torso, the way you adjust your posture, it's all communication. It's saying, I'm in this moment, I'm feeling it with you. You're not just giving him pleasure, you're creating an experience you're both inside of. That embodiment is magnetic. It makes the entire act feel alive. Using your whole self is about showing up with everything you are, not just as a partner performing a physical task, but as a sensual being fully immersed in the moment. It turns technique into connection. It transforms the act from something he's receiving into something you're sharing. And in doing so, it makes the entire experience feel more intimate, more erotic, and far more memorable. Because when all of you is present, he feels all of it. This is where the difference between a good experience and an unforgettable one becomes clear. You can master all the techniques in the world, but if you're not tuned into his reactions, if you're not responding to his body, his breath, his subtle cues, then the moment lacks the very thing that makes it personal: connection. Men may not always be vocal about what they like, but their bodies never lie. Every shift in their breathing, every clench of a muscle, every pause or sharp inhale is giving you information. And when you become skilled at reading those signs, when you not only notice them, but respond to them, it creates a deep, almost primal sense of attunement. He doesn't have to guide you with words, he just has to feel and you follow. This is the kind of presence that makes someone feel not only turned on, but seen. It's not about guessing or sticking to a set routine. It's about being in tune with the moment, adapting naturally, and giving feedback with your own reactions. When he moans deeper, or tilts his hips toward you, or grips the sheets tighter, those are his yes signals. They're his way of saying that. Right there. And when you respond by keeping that rhythm, adding pressure, or even just pausing to look at him with intent, it makes him feel deeply connected, not just pleasured, but understood. This kind of connection builds trust. It tells him, you don't need to explain anything. I'm paying attention. And that level of unspoken communication is incredibly erotic. It's not about dominance or submission. It's about responsiveness, about letting your energy say, I'm here, I'm with you, I feel what you feel. Even your own sounds are part of this responsiveness. A soft moan when you sense him getting closer, a breathy sigh when you feel him tighten. It tells him you're not just in your own head, you're with him. You're feeling his pleasure as your own. This mutual experience transforms everything. Suddenly, it's not a one-way act, it's a shared energy moving between you. There's also a powerful element of control in how you respond. For instance, let's say you're doing something he clearly loves, and you pause for a second, just enough to make him want it more. That deliberate break says, I see how much you love this. I know what you want. It's teasing, but it's also a form of deep acknowledgement. You're not just doing things to him, you're playing with his desire, guiding it, responding in ways that build a crescendo of tension and release. Even silence can be a response. Slowing down, holding still, letting the moment breathe. These small pauses can be louder than any words. They create space for him to feel what's happening in his body, to savor, to sink into it. Ultimately, responding to him is about being emotionally intelligent in a physical space. It's not performance, it's not routine, it's listening, adapting, and letting the moment lead you both. When he feels that, when he knows you're tuned in and not just going through the motions, he relaxes into the experience, he lets go. And that surrender, physically, emotionally, psychologically, is where the real magic lives. Because in that moment, he's not just being touched, he's being felt. This is where true mastery comes in. Predictability might feel safe, but in intimacy, it's the fastest way to dull the experience. Men, like anyone else, crave excitement, novelty, and moments that catch them off guard in the best way. When you introduce variety, you take him out of his head and into the moment, again and again. And when he doesn't know what's coming next, everything becomes more intense. It's important to understand that arousal is as much psychological as it is physical. If the same rhythm, pressure, and pace go on for too long, his brain starts to tune out. It becomes familiar. And while familiar can be nice, it's not what drives him wild. What drives him wild is suspense, the unexpected, the shift from soft to deep, slow to fast, stillness to motion. It's that unpredictability that keeps his attention hooked, his body hypersensitive, and his desire climbing with no end in sight. Think of it like music. A song that only plays one note becomes background noise, but a song that builds, dips, and surprises, that's the one that moves you, your rhythm, your pace, your touch. It's all part of the melody you're creating in real time. And when you let it evolve, when you sense the build-up and then pull back, or when you pause just before he thinks he can't take it anymore, that's what creates those unforgettable, edge-of-the-seat moments. This doesn't mean constant change for the sake of change. The key is intentional contrast. Let one sensation build until he's fully immersed in it, then flip the script. For example, you might start with slow, teasing licks or soft kisses, letting the tension grow. Then suddenly increase pressure, deepen your rhythm, or bring in your hands in a new way. That contrast lights up his nervous system. It jolts him back into full awareness. His body thinks, wait, what's this? And in that moment, pleasure skyrockets. Another dimension of variety is the use of different pressures and angles. Sometimes a light, barely there touch is more powerful than anything else. Other times he wants something firmer, more intense. You don't need to ask, you read. You experiment, you pay attention to how he reacts, and you let his body guide your next move. This kind of intuitive play shows confidence, control, and attentiveness, all things that, combined, feel incredibly seductive. Even something as simple as a pause creates variation. It's not always about more. Sometimes stopping completely, just breathing on him, holding still, can send him over the edge. It builds mental tension. It sharpens every nerve ending. And when you finally resume, his whole body is screaming for it. That makes your next move feel explosive. You can also bring variety by shifting between different zones. You're not confined to one area. Explore his inner thighs, lower stomach, hips. Light teasing touches in unexpected places bring a new dimension of pleasure. It reminds him that the entire experience is yours to play with. That sense of surrender, of being at your mercy in the best possible way, creates an energy that's both erotic and emotional. Most importantly, variety keeps you engaged too. When you're present, playing, adjusting, discovering, it stops being a routine and becomes a living, evolving moment. You stay excited. He stays excited, and together you create something that can't be scripted or copied. It's unique. It's real. It's charged. When you embrace variety, you're not just driving him crazy with pleasure, you're showing him that you're in control of the moment, that you're attuned, creative, and unafraid to lead. That combination is irresistible. Not because it's about tricks or complexity, but because it's alive. And aliveness is what makes desire unforgettable. This is the part most people overlook, yet it's often the difference between a moment that's just physical and one that lingers in his mind and heart long after it's over. What you do after can be even more powerful than what you did during, because it speaks directly to something deeper: emotional safety, intimacy, and connection. For a lot of men, especially those who don't often feel permission to be vulnerable, the moments after intense pleasure are some of their most emotionally open. Their guard is down. They've let go. Their nervous system is still buzzing, but they're also in a raw, sensitive state. And if you know how to handle that space with care, with presence, and with intention, you create something most experiences never touch: bonding. Aftercare isn't complicated. It's presence, softness, and reassurance. It's staying close. It's keeping the energy warm, not letting it drop off abruptly like a curtain closing. And that might mean lying beside him, gently tracing your fingers across his skin, whispering something sweet or playful. It might be a long hug. It might be looking into his eyes and saying something simple like, "I loved that." That kind of moment creates emotional anchoring. It links physical pleasure with emotional safety, which is incredibly rare and incredibly powerful. Here's why this matters. A lot of people chase novelty to create memorable experiences, but novelty fades. What lasts longer, what a man remembers, is how he felt around you. If you can make him feel not just turned on, but seen, safe, and connected, he's going to associate that pleasure with you. That's how you move from a physical encounter to something emotionally unforgettable. And it's the emotional imprint that makes him crave you again, not just for your body, but for your presence. There's also something incredibly sexy about a woman who knows how to lead the emotional tone after pleasure. You're not becoming clingy. You're not trying to define the relationship. You're just saying, I'm still here. I see you. That wasn't just about the act. It was about us. That creates trust, and trust deepens intimacy. It also makes him feel like this experience was something shared, not just something he received. That's a subtle but powerful shift. Sometimes aftercare is physical, like wrapping him in the warm embrace or lightly stroking his chest. Sometimes it's verbal, like complimenting something about him that felt especially sexy, or even just saying, that was fun, wasn't it? But the magic isn't in the words or gestures alone, it's in the tone, in your softness, in the relaxed, unhurried vibe you bring to those minutes afterward. That's what makes him feel emotionally held. And don't underestimate how rare this is. Most people rush through the after part. They roll over, they check their phone, they move on. That breaks the spell. But if you take your time, if you linger, if you create a gentle landing, you make the whole experience feel like a complete arc. It didn't just peak and drop off. It rose, connected, and closed with intention. That's the difference between sex that's satisfying and sex that's soul-stirring. Between being someone he had a moment with and someone he can't stop thinking about. Aftercare is the glue that binds all the other moves together. It makes the whole thing feel meaningful, not just pleasurable. Now, in a world where most people chase the high but skip the depth, being the one who understands both, that's what sets you apart. That's what leaves him saying, whatever that was, I need it again.